Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and welcome back to Fix It Fast of the podcast by Max Appliance Repair.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
I was thinking, with everybody cooking all these fancy meals for their sweethearts this weekend,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
those dishwashers are probably getting a workout.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of romantic meals happening.
Hopefully they're up to the task. But you know what we're actually going to deep dive into today is something that I think a lot of people experience, especially after, big cookie days like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why your dishwasher might not be drying your dishes properly.
Yeah, that can be a real bunner, especially when you have a lot of dishes.
Yeah, nobody wants to stand there and, hand dry a whole sink full of dishes after they just ran the dishwasher.
Exactly. It's supposed to do the work for you, right?
Right. So before we all end up back at the sink with a dish towel, let's unpack this mystery.
Yeah, let's figure out what's going on.
I think we actually had a blog post about this a while back.
Yeah, we did. I think it was titled, "Why Does My Dishwasher Not Completely Dry My Dishes?"
You're right. Yeah, and it covers a lot of the common culprits, and some of them might surprise you.
Yeah, for sure some of them aren't so obvious.
I used to think it was all about the heating element. If the dishes aren't drying, the heating element must be busted.
Yeah, that's a common assumption.
But there's a lot more to it than just a faulty heating element, isn't there?
There is. It can definitely be a big part of the problem. There's more to the story.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are some telltale signs that the heating element is the problem?
Well, one of the most obvious signs is if the dishwasher isn't heating up at all.
Oh, okay.
You might also hear some strange noises coming from the machine, like a humming or buzzing sound, which could indicate that the element is struggling to work.
Oh, that's a good point. I haven't thought about that.
And of course, a burning smell is a major red flag. That's a sign you need to call a technician right away.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Burning smell's never good.
Not a dishwasher.
No. So what if the dishwasher seems to be heating up fine, but the dishes are still sopping wet?
Right? Then we got to start looking beyond the heating element itself. There could be other things going on.
What else could be going on?
Well, one of the things that surprised me when I first started working here was how much loading the dishwasher properly affects drying.
Really?
Yeah, I used to think you just cram everything in there any old way.
I know, me too. I thought it was all about Tetris skills. Yeah.
But seriously, how much does it really impact drying?
Yeah, I'm curious about that now.
It's a bigger deal than you might think. Overcrowding is one of the biggest drying killers.
Oh, really?
Because it restricts airflow, and airflow is essential for proper evaporation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like trying to dry a soaking wet towel in a tiny airtight box, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Same thing in your dishwasher. Those dishes need space to breathe.
So what are some common loading mistakes that we should avoid?
One big one is not placing larger items like pots and pans face down.
Oh, okay.
Because if they're upright, they just collect water and become little pools of sogginess.
Yeah, okay. I'm guilty of that one.
And spacing. I can't empathize that enough.
Okay, yeah.
Make sure there's enough room between dishes for the air to circulate and the water to drain properly.
So if you have a big family and you constantly find yourself overloading the dishwasher,
Right.
might be better to run smaller, more frequent loads.
Absolutely. That's a way better option than dealing with a mountain of wet dishes later.
So heat and loading are two major factors. What else should we be thinking about when it comes to dishwasher drying?
Another often overlooked culprit is clogged vents and filters.
Oh, those things.
Yeah, those vents and filters are vital for proper airflow and drainage, but they can usually get clogged with food particles and debris,
Right.
and that can significantly impact drying performance. Think of them like your dishwasher's lungs. They need to be clear for the system to breathe.
So how often should we be cleaning those out?
I would recommend cleaning them at least once a month.
Okay.
And remember, there are usually two filters to clean, the main one at the bottom and a finer filter near the wash arm.
Oh, okay, two filters.
Don't neglect either one.
All right, two filter check. Now I have a confession to make, once in a moment of desperation. I used regular dish soap in my dishwasher because I ran out of dishwasher detergent.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
It's like the emergency backup soap.
But is it really that bad? I mean, soap is soap, right?
Well, not exactly. Using dishwasher-specific detergent is crucial, especially if you have hard water.
Why is that?
Well, for starters, the dyes and perfumes in regular dish soap can leave a residue on your dishes, and that can interfere with drying.
Okay.
Plus, dishwasher detergent is specifically formulated to work with the unique wash cycles and temperatures of your machine.
So, lesson learned, stick to the dishwasher detergent.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, we talked about heat earlier, but what about the actual water temperature? How important is that for drying?
Water temperature is super important. For effective cleaning, sanitizing, and drying, you want that water to be nice and hot, around 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow. Okay, 120.
Yeah.
Is there any way to ensure that the water's hot enough?
You know that trick I mentioned earlier about running the hot water at your sink for a bit before starting the dishwasher?
Uh-huh.
That's a simple but effective way to make sure the water entering the machine is already hot.
Oh, okay, good tip.
Yeah, just let it run for a minute or two.
Okay, hot water check. But what about rinse aid? I'll admit I don't always think about that stuff.
Rinse aid is more important than you might think. It helps prevent those annoying water spots and streaks, and it also plays a key role in drying.
Really? How does it do that?
Well, rinse aid reduces the surface tension of the water, which allows it to sheet off the dishes more effectively.
Oh, okay.
Without it, the water tends to cling to the dishes in tiny droplets, which take longer to evaporate and can leave behind mineral deposits.
So if I'm having drying issues, should I check my rinse aid situation?
Absolutely. First, make sure the dispenser is full and not clogged.
Okay.
And double check that the setting isn't on 0. You'd be surprised how many people forget to adjust that.
Good point. Now, we talked about the heating element earlier, but I want to revisit that briefly. You mentioned some signs of a failing heating element, but are there any subtle clues we might miss?
Yes. Keep in mind that older dishwashers, or those that haven't been properly maintained, are more susceptible to heating element issues.
Oh, okay.
So if your dishwasher's getting up there in years, or you haven't been diligent about cleaning and maintenance, be extra vigilant about any unusual noises or performance changes.
So preventative maintenance is key as always.
Always.
Okay, we've covered heat loading vents and filters, detergent water temperature, and rinse aid. Anything else we're missing?
Well, you brought up overloading earlier, and I think it's worth circling back to that.
Right, because even if we do everything else right, cramming the dishwasher full can still mess things up.
Exactly. And remember, stothing is key. Give those dishes room to breathe, and don't be afraid to run smaller loads more often.
Solid advice. So is there anything else that could be affecting our dishwasher's drying abilities?
One more thing, hard water buildup can be a real culprit.
Oh, right. I've seen those mineral deposits on my glasses before. They're so annoying.
They are, and not only can they make your dishes look cloudy, but they can also interfere with drying and even damage your dishwasher over time.
So how do we combat hard water?
Well, using a rinse aid designed for hard water can help.
Okay.
Installing a water softener is another option, although it's a more significant investment.
Right.
And of course, regular dishwasher cleaning is crucial.
Okay, so those mineral deposits are no joke. So to recap, we've got the heating element loading techniques, vent and filter maintenance, the right detergent, hot water rinse aid, and hard water issues. That's a lot to keep in mind.
It is, but the good news is that many of these problems are easy to fix. And with a little bit of preventative maintenance, you can avoid many of them altogether.
Great advice. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here today, and hopefully our listeners are feeling a little more empowered to tackle their dishwasher drying woes.
I hope so too.
Now, we usually take some listener questions at the end of our episodes, but since it's Valentine's Day, we thought we'd switch things up a bit.
Yeah, how about instead of answering questions, we share some dishwasher fun facts?
Oh, I love that idea. Dishwasher trivia on Valentine's Day. It's a date.
Perfect. So get this. Did you know that the very first mechanical dishwashing device was patented all the way back in 1850?
Wow, really? That's over 170 years ago. I had no idea dishwashers have been around for that long.
I know, right? Talk about a blast from the past. Of course, those early versions were a far cry from the modern marvels we have today. They were hand-cranked and mostly used in commercial settings like hotels and restaurants.
I can just imagine the arm workout you'd get cranking one of those things.
No kidding, but it wasn't until the 1920s that electric dishwashers started appearing in homes thanks to the widespread availability of electricity.
That makes sense. Electricity really revolutionized appliances, didn't it?
Absolutely. And speaking of modern marvels, did you know that the average dishwasher uses only about 6 gallons of water per cycle?
Really? That's less than I would have guessed, considering how much work it does.
It's pretty impressive. And newer models are even more efficient, some using as little as 3 gallons per cycle. So not only do dishwashers save us time and effort, but they can also help us conserve water.
Talk about a win-win. Okay, hit me with another fun fact.
All right, here's a good one. Over 75% of households in the United States own a dishwasher.
Wow. That's a lot of dishwashers. I guess it's safe to say they become a pretty essential appliance for most people.
Absolutely. And I think after this episode, we'll all appreciate our dishwashers, even more quirks and all.
Speaking of quirks, let's get back to those drying issues. We covered a lot of ground, but I want to make sure our listeners have some actionable takeaways.
Good idea. Let's recap those key points. First up, the heating element. If your dishwasher isn't heating up at all, or if you hear strange noises or smell burning, the heating element might be the culprit.
And remember, older dishwashers or those that haven't been properly maintained are more prone to heating element problems.
Exactly. Next, we talked about the importance of loading the dishwasher correctly. Overcrowding is a major drying killer because it restricts airflow.
right? It's like trying to apply clothes in a packed suitcase. They're just going to stay damp.
Exactly. Make sure to space those dishes out and don't be afraid to run smaller loads more often if you need to.
And don't forget about those vents and filters. They need some love, too.
Absolutely. Those vents and filters are essential for proper airflow and drainage, and they can get clogged with food particles and debris. Make sure to clean them at least once a month.
Got it. 2 filters once a month. Check. Now about detergent. We learned that regular dish soap is a no-no in the dishwasher.
Right. Use a detergent that's specifically designed for dishwashers, especially if you have hard water.
Speaking of hard water, what exactly is that and why is it such a problem for dishwashers?
Well, hard water contains high levels of dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium. These minerals can build up on your dishes and inside your dishwasher, causing all sorts of problems, including drying issues.
So it's like those annoying mineral deposits we see of our glasses.
Exactly. Those are a telltale sign of hard water. And not only do they make your dishes look cloudy, but they can also interfere with how water sheets off the dishes, leading to longer drying times.
So how do we combat hard water? You mentioned Rinse-Aid earlier.
Yes, Rinse-Aid can definitely help. It reduces the surface tension of water, helping it sheet off the dishes more effectively, which prevents water spots and aids in drying.
So make sure your Rinse-Aid dispenser is full, not clogged, and that the setting isn't on 0.
Right. You can also try using a Rinse-Aid that's specifically designed for hard water. And for a more permanent solution, you could consider installing a water softener, which removes those minerals from your water supply.
Okay, so lots of options for dealing with hard water.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, let's circle back to one crucial point: preventative maintenance. Taking good care of your dishwasher can prevent a lot of these drying problems in the first place.
So that means regular cleaning using the right detergent, not overloading, and keeping an eye out for any unusual noises or performance changes.
Exactly. Think of it like taking your car in for regular tune-ups. It's a lot easier and cheaper to address minor issues before they become major problems.
Great advice. And if you do encounter a problem, don't hesitate to give us a call at Max Appliance Repair.
We're always here to help.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything when it comes to dishwasher drying problems. But before we sign off, I have one last question for you. If you could give our listeners just one piece of advice to ensure their dishes come out sparkling clean and dry, what would it be?
That's a great question. If I had to pick just one thing, I'd say it all comes down to mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Interesting. Tell me more.
Well, I think a lot of these drying problems stem from not paying attention to the little things. We rush through loading the dishwasher. We don't think twice about the detergent we're using. We ignore those clogged filters, and then we're surprised when our dishes come out wet.
I see your point. We often operate on autopilot when it comes to everyday chores like washing dishes.
Exactly. So my advice would be to slow down, be present, and pay attention to the details. Think about how you're loading the dishwasher. Make sure you're using the right detergent. Check your Rinse-Aid, and don't forget about those vents and filters.
It's like the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of care.
Precisely. A little mindfulness goes a long way. And honestly, I think it makes the whole chore of dishwashing a little more enjoyable when you approach it with intention.
I agree. There's something satisfying about taking the time to do things properly, even something as mundane as loading a dishwasher.
Absolutely. And who knows, you might even discover some hidden features or settings on your dishwasher that you never noticed before.
That's a great point. Sometimes we get so accustomed to using our appliances in a certain way that we forget to explore all the options.
Right. There's always something new to learn.
Exactly. So to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to embrace mindfulness in your dishwashing routine. Your dishes and your sanity will thank you.
Well said. And if mindfulness doesn't solve all your drying woes, remember, you can always give us a call at Max Appliance Repair. We're always happy to help.
That's right. We're the Dishwasher Whisperers, here to help you achieve sparkling clean and perfectly dry dishes every time.
Until next time, happy dishwashing, everyone. And to all our listeners celebrating Happy Valentine's Day.
And remember, stay tuned for our next episode of Fix It Fast, where we'll tackle another common appliance conundrum.